This assignment is going to cover building an HTML table entirely in C#. So there's a working solution here. We're going to make two files, the table.aspx and its associated .cs file. It's important to note that there's no functionality beyond the page loading in the browser, which I'll show you here. So this is the end result, and that's actually larger because I've increased the zoom level here. So all of the functionality occurs on the server in your code when it's executed. And all of that happens prior to delivering the end result to the browser. So it's a lot about what's happening on the server and not what you can do with it after it's in the web browser. So we're going to work with using a few different items in C# this time around. If I put this back to our normal zoom level, this would be more like what we're making. It is 360 pixels wide. Here is an image of just that. We'll start by downloading this zip file of images. There's some basic instruction here. We're going to be using System.Web.UI.WebControls.Table, TableRow, and TableCell. And you should think of it like an HTML table. So .table is the whole table. TableRow is your TR. TableCell is your TD. Both TD and TH, just depending on how you format it after you implement the TableCell. We're going to do minimal, very little, one tag inside of the forward-facing aspx. We'll put an ASP panel in there. The rest is going to take place in the page load, and it's very repetitive. So once we've done a few rows, you'll see how repetitive it is. You'll have new instances of the table, TableRow, and TableCell. We will add content to a TableCell or a TD tag. We'll add the formatting, so if it's bold, if it's centered, if it's, whatever else it needs. Once we've done that, we're going to add the TableCell to the TableRow using Controls.Add. Once we've built an entire row, we're going to add that row to the table. Once we've built the entire table, we're going to add that table to the panel, which is this panel right here, which is in the aspx. So let's switch and get started here. I'm going to stay in our assignment 2 here. I'm going to do File, Open Website. My assignment 2 that's still on the desktop there. When it loads, you'll see I've got my index and my index.aspx.cs. And I'm going to right click on the solution name and then go to add new item. Make sure it's C#. I'm going to choose the web form. I'm going to change the name to table.aspx and add it. It will add two files, table.aspx and the .cs. I'm going to go ahead and open both files. We're going to start in the aspx. And we are going to, the only thing we're going to do here is place a panel right here. So I'm going to go to the toolbox, grab a panel, drag and drop it in there. I am going to change the ID of the panel to my table. And that'll be all. So remember my table, because we're going to use that in the code behind page. I'll do a Control-Shift-B. Not building for me. So I'll do a build solution. So we've got that file saved. We'll come to the .cs, which is where we will do everything else related to this assignment until we view it in the browser. So for starters, we don't need to add anything up here. This is public partial class table. The reason that name is table is because the name of this file here is table.aspx. If we had called it foo, then this would be foo. it inherits from System.Web.UI.Page. You're going to see this part on every single one of your files. So we are creating pages, so it inherits from the page class. So that's just a little bit about that hierarchy. The rest of what we're going to do is going to be inside of the page load function. You'll recall from the first part that the page load function executes every time the page loads, whether it is a refresh of the page or the first time loading of the page. We don't tend to care in this assignment whether it's a refresh or not. What we are going to do is build a table. So we're going to declare some variables to use. And those variables are in System.Web.UI.WebControls. And the first one is table. So that is what I've just typed there is the same as if I were making a string, I would have typed string. But I'm not making a string. I'm making a variable called table and setting it equal to new, and as soon as I hit the space bar, it has the correct thing highlighted for me. So all I have to do is accept that, hit enter, put a pair of parentheses after it, and then we can go to the next one. So again, if I were making a string like that, or if I were making an integer like that, this part right here is the data type that we are using. It's not a string, it's not an integer, it's a table. But because table is used in various places, because there are lots of different places we can use a table, this one is specified in web controls as opposed to perhaps Windows controls or other various mobile controls. So there are a lot of different ones. So that's our data type there. We need two more, System.Web.UI.WebControls, and this time it's TableCell. This one I'm going to call TC. And again, when you type new, as soon as you hit the space bar, it will highlight the one that you need. This one, we want TableRow. And I'm going to call that one TR equals new space. It will highlight the one that you need. Just hit enter. Add the parentheses and the semicolon. So now we've got our three variables there that we're going to be using. And as we go through this, you'll see several places where we say we don't declare this anymore, but we repeat this. The TC equals new table cell, and then we repeat this, the TR equals new table row. So you'll see that as we move down. Our table, we're going to set a couple properties on it. So again, this table right here, if I highlight it, you'll see it highlights up above there. So I'll do table.width, and I said we were going to make this 360. I'm also going to set the cell padding equal to 0. And we'll set the cell spacing equal to 1. And again, if I select one of those, you'll see all of those same ones highlight in there. So it kind of helps you out in where all you've used it and where it was declared. So if we come back and look at either the workings, let's go to the working solution. The first part is one of these images that is here. So if we come back here, the images you can use, I'm going to click that and download the images. I'm going to show those in the folder. I'm going to do a Control X to cut those out of there, and I'm going to go to my desktop where my Assignment2 files are, and I'm going to paste it in there. Seems like my shortcut keys are not working for this video. So I'll cut that out of there. I'll go to the desktop, Assignment2, and paste. Then I'm going to double click on that. Just going to grab this folder. So there are my images, and I actually don't want them in here. I want them on the same level as our files. So I should have just gone one deeper on the last one. And these two we can just delete. So we wind up with this here. We've got bottom banner.jpg, osu.jpg, purdue.jpg, and then top banner.jpg. So we've added 4 images there. When we come back over to here, in our Solution Explorer here, there is a refresh. So I'll hit refresh and you'll see those images pop up here. So what we're going to do is put this top banner in on this first table row. So we are going to start with a TC, if we come back here, working solution, you'll see we've got 3 main columns. So what we're going to do through here is either have 3 columns, or we're going to do column span of 3. So this one here would be a column span of 3, and just have 1 cell spanning 3 columns. But down here we're going to have 3 individual cells in a row. So for starters, we're going to do a tc.columnspan equal to 3. And then we need to put in an image. So first we need to declare an image. And again, we got to use System.Web.UI.WebControls. And this time, instead of table, TableCell, or TableRow, it is image. And I'm going to call it img equals new. And it automatically highlights it for me. I put my parentheses and my semicolon after it. If you like it better, we can take this entire statement, cut it, we can put it up here, and then right here we could just start by using image, and it would be image.image URL, and we would set that equal to a value, and that's going to be, we're going to set it to point to the server, so we'll have to push our files up to the server here. I'll come back to that. We're going to do image.visible and set that equal to true. Image.width and set that equal to 360. And then we'll do a tc.controls.add. That's our first occurrence of Controls.Add. You'll see it a lot. And we're going to pass in img. So you see that we've created that image. We're adding it now, and put a semicolon at the end. I'm going to do tc.horizontal-align equals, and it's important for you to notice that you cannot just type center. There is actually a class that holds the values horizontal-align.center, and that's what you need to use, otherwise it will not work. And then we do a tr.controls.add. It's our second occurrence of Controls.Add, and we pass in the TableCell. So this right here is our first row. And then then I will take this, put that there, and I'll mark this as the end of our first row. And I'm going to jump to the end here. This is only so that we can be able to test. Let's not call that end of file. Let's call that last row or last addition would probably be better because we're not going to put a row down here. So what I'm going to do is jump all the way to the end. And what we need to add is we need to use table.Controls.Add. And what we want to add to the table is the TR. But then, once we have added the table row to the table, once we've added the table row to the table, we need to add the table to the panel. I called the panel my table. You'll see as I start typing it suggests it for me. Again, it's the same Controls.Add. And in this case, I'm going to type the word table, or the variable table, I should say, the object. And you'll see it's repeated throughout there. Now this, from here down, we're just going to keep at the bottom, because that needs to be the bottom of the page. But what this allows us to do now is build, and then we can come to table.aspx and view in the browser. And before we do that, we'll have to come back here and say where that image is going to be. Now for you, it's going to be the URL like you were viewing it in the browser, viewing your solution in the browser. So it's CGT.Web1.tech.Purdue.edu 456. And for you, it's going to be the CGT 456 web number letter. Mine is going to be a little different. Yours would be that, then lab 02, then and then it would point to bottom banner.jpg. So that would be yours, where this is your folder here. Now, as I said, mine's a little bit different, so I will adjust it for mine. But now, before it will work, I have to put those images up on the server. So I'm going to go ahead and build that, but then I'm going to come back to my folders here. Here I'm on the desktop, so you can see I'm on the desktop. Here I am on the server, and I need those JPEGs. Actually, I need the JPEGs and the table. May as well. So there, I've selected all of those, and I'm going to push those up to the web server. We'll come back here, and now we'll do a right click, view in browser. And so now I've got that first image displayed there as part of my table. If I right click, view the page source, you can see what's delivered to the browser is we have this div ID equals my table. It's not called a panel in HTML. So ID equals my table. We've got our open table and closed table. We've got a single row in there. We've got a TD with a column span of 3. And inside of that, we've got an image tag that points to the URL that we placed there. So you can, again, begin to see how things are transformed by Visual Studio on the server. I'm going to make an alteration here, and this line here, table.controls.add, it's going to be used many times in this. I'm going to take this particular one and I'm going to move it up to here, and it will be with that first row there. And as you'll see, every time we add a row, we add this statement here. And the reason I'm moving it up there is so that as we continue down through there, some of you don't wind up with having two of those down here at the bottom. So the only line we want at the bottom down here is going to be the myTable.Controls.Add. I'm going to take this. Oops. I'm going to change it to be next row. And now, the first thing we start each next row off with is going to be a tr equals new table row. It highlights it for you, just hit enter. And then a tc equals new TableCell. It highlights it for you. Oops. Just hit enter. And now we're on the second row. So we're going to start filling that TC. When we get the TC filled, we'll add it to the TR and then add the TR to the table. This one once again spans 3 columns. So we're going to set the column span to 3. This one has some text in it though. So to set the text of a table cell, it's just tc.text equals some string literal. The string literal that we're going to put in there, again, you can bounce back and forth and look at that image to see where we're at. We have Purdue 0, a pipe, and OSU 0. Now, what will happen is that these wind up being very close together and they don't look as nice on the screen, and maybe we'll just let it show as that before I come back and put the non-breaking spaces in. Next line, we want to set the background color to be a gray. Again, this is another one of those things. Much like horizontal align up there, you can't just type center. For the background color, you can't just type gray. So I'll do tc.backcolor equals, and as soon as I type the space, it highlights and it's telling you, hey, you need to use System.Drawing.Color to specify your color. So I'm just going to hit enter and type a period, and I'll start typing the word light, and then there's my light gray. So I can set the background color of that cell to be a light gray. I'm going to do the horizontal align again. I'm going to set the font size on this one, so tc.font.size, and I'm going to set it equal to 16. And then we'll be done editing. So now we're back to the addition part. So we've altered that table cell. So now we're going to add the table cell to the TR. So here's tr.controls.add the TC, and then we add that table row to the table itself. Oops. And then I want to copy this set here. So that will be one row there. I'm going to, just because I like the way it looks, I'll have the two Controls.Add right before the end of the row, and the two new statements right before the beginning, and then we'll have the TC adjustments there. So now this here we're going to come back and modify, but I'll do a Control-Shift-B, watch it build down here in the output, come over here, right-click, view in the browser. So this is how it's displayed. It's awfully close together. So what I'm going to do is just put in a bunch of non-breaking spaces. So I'll type the NBSP semicolon there. I'll do a copy, and I'll put a couple in between each character that's there. So let's build that again, come back, right click, doing the browser. It spaces it out a little nicer, so I like that a little better. There are certainly other ways we could have done it, and it would have taken us far more time. I just went with this route because we've already got several rows that we're going to get through. So I'll push that last line down there a little ways so it doesn't accidentally get mixed up somehow. And we will move on to the next row. Now the first two lines in this are going to be the same as these two. And then we begin creating and altering our table cell once again. This one once again is going to span 3 columns. This one also has text in it. The text in it is team comparison. We're going to again set the background color, but the background color is going to be white on this one, so tc.backcolor equals, they highlight System.Drawing.color for you, so you accept that and do a .white. Again, we'll set the horizontal alignment. We'll set the font size of this one to be 14. We'll give it an underline, which is also in font, and it is a Boolean value, so we'll set it to true. And then the last 2 lines are going to be the same as right here. So I'm going to grab these 3, copy those, I'll leave 1 space. And so here we've got our 2 news, and then we've got our 2 ads, and then we've got our adjustments that we've made here. So I'll do a Control-Shift-B, right click, view in the browser, and there's our team comparison. Let's come over here, view the working solution. There's team comparison. And then we're ready to begin another row. So if we go and look at what the next row will be here, we've got another one that spans all 3 columns, and then we get into the 3 columns. When I get into, I'll probably do this first set here and then finish these off video, and then we'll come back and look at it. So we'll go ahead and start that next row once again. I'm going to grab these 2 TR and TCs. If we don't do this, it's important for me to explain. If we don't do this, you'll actually find that the last time that you add something to the TC, that will repeat throughout your end product. So every time you want something new, you have to reinitialize that variable. You should try it once just to see what happens. I'm going to just actually go ahead and copy the rest of this down through next row, and then we will alter it. So we do have a column span of 3 once again. Our text is going to change to page reloads every 30 seconds. Our background color stays white. Horizontal alignment stays the same. Our text size is going to change to 10, and there is no underline, so we'll delete that line, and then we add an add. So do Control-Shift-B again. We'll build it down there in the output, view it in the browser, And then here's our next line that's been added. And now you'll see that we're going to get to adding these images here. So let's go ahead and get to that. Once again, we start with these two. And I'm going to type out, rather than copying the rest of that, because we're into 3 columns now, I'm going to type it out instead of copying and pasting. So the first thing we need is to reuse that image variable. So img, and just like the tr and the tc up above, we have to do new image in order to actually place a new image on the screen. Now, if for some reason this new image like this does not work for you, what you can do is, instead of just typing image, you could explicitly call out, darn it, like that, and that will work for you. So either way should work just fine, but I'm going to leave that one as is, just to show you as an example. Then we're going to change the image URL. Again, it's going to be set to some text, and it's going to be very similar to what we did up here. So let's just grab that whole thing. Whoa, that's not good. Okay, let's paste that back into. Apparently I didn't get it copied. But instead of being the top banner, or instead of being the bottom banner, did I put the bottom banner up there? Good grief. Top banner. It is going to be, on the left-hand side, it's going to be Purdue.jpg. So there we have that. Hopefully the rest of this will go a little smoother. Again, we're going to do image.visible and set that equal to true. It's a Boolean value, so it's either true or false. And then we're going to go ahead and add that image to the TableCell. So we do the tc.controls.add here. We add img so that it gets into the TableCell. Again, we're going to do the horizontal alignment. The width we're going to specify as 100. This is the one row that we're going to specify width in to set the total of 360. So it'll be 100, 160, and 100 again. And then we do a tr.controls.add and add that TC. After that, we move to the next table cell. So I do a TC equals new table cell. TC.text, in this case, is going to be the verses that was on the screen there. We'll set the same horizontal alignment. And then we'll set the font size to 14 and bold the font. Bold again is a Boolean value, so it's true or false. This one, the width, is going to be 160. And then again, we add that to the table row. So again, we've got 3 columns. We've added 2 columns to it. time to do the third column. Third column is going to be exactly like the first column, except we are changing the image there. So I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to start at the image tag and go through tr.controls.add. I'm going to copy that. I'll come down here and I'll paste it. But additionally, we also need this TC equals new table cell, so I'm going to copy that and put it right above the image equals new image. So now we've got a new table cell, a new image. This, instead of being Purdue, needs to be OSU. If we come over here and look, OSU.JPG. The rest will stay the same. We add that TC to the table row, and then we add that all to the table. And then it's time for our marker that shows us that we've completed that row. So now I'll do a Control-Shift-B again. We'll build down here in the output, right click, view in browser. And now we've got our images showing up there in our 3-column format. So next we're going to work on a lot of these. Again, like I said, I think I'm going to do maybe these first 3, and then I'll go off video and complete it down to about here, and then we'll finish this off on video. I'm going to add an extra little piece of commentation here, and I'm going to put start of what repeats, because the remainder of all of those that are looking repetitious, you'll be able to copy that whole set and then modify it as you move down the page. So again, we start off with those same 2 new ones. We don't have any images in here, so we don't need that image object there. And now we're going to work on that first TC, and again this is 3 columns. So we'll do tc.text, and we have a 0 on the left hand side. We're going to set the background color because this is one of the highlighted rows. And we'll use light gray again. Horizontal line stays the same. Font size is 10, bold is going to be true. And then we'll add that row, or add that to the row, I'm sorry. Move on to the next one. Again, we need a TC equals new table cell. And then after that, I'm going to copy from text through tr.controls.add. I'm going to paste that here. The text is going to change to be first downs. Background color stays as a light gray. Keep it at center alignment. Font size stays at 10, bold stays at true. We add that back. And then we move into the 3rd column. And once again, I'm going to copy this entire 2nd one from TC equals new table cell through tr.controls.add. Leave a little space there. Instead of first downs there, we need a 0. Stays light gray, center, 10, true. We add it there. And then we've got to add the TR to the table. So, oops. Once we've done that, going to come down here to the bottom and reverse this a little bit. Put end of what repeats there. And then on the other side of this would be, again, the tr equals new and tc equals new, but we'll get to that. So this piece here, for a bold and light gray background, if we come back here, for a bold and light gray background, for this particular assignment, you'll be able to copy between the comments here and then just modify the pieces that need to be modified. You'll have to look at the font size. It might change. You'll have to look at whether or not bold is true. You'll have to look at the text, but it'll save you some typing. I'll do Control-Shift-B, right click, view in browser, and there's our first downs. Now, the next two have white and they're not bold. So again, I'm going to work through those with some copying and pasting, but not a lot. And then you can finish out the rest of those. So again, we need those same two lines that we've been starting with. So I'm going to come up here and grab those. And the TC to start this one is tc.text. And this one happens to be a 0-0. And then we've got the background color of white. So we'll set that to white. Horizontal alignment. The font size will stay at 10. And then we're going to add that to the table row. We'll move to the middle column. Again, we'll set the text. And the text on this is going to be third down efficiency. Again, we need that background color, the horizontal alignment, font, and add. So I'm just going to copy those. And then we move to the other side, and it's going to be very similar to this right here. So I'm going to grab those and put them here. But as always, we've got to have this TC equals new table cell every time we start a new table cell. Otherwise, you're going to have things repeat. The text on that side again is going to be a 0-0, and you can change those numbers if you want to. If you want it to look like you're actually in game, or at the end of the game maybe. And then at the end, once again, we need to add it to the table. And once we are there, we are at the next row again. So do Control-Shift-B, view it in the browser, and now we've got one of those white rows there. Now, below that, if we look at, sorry, I should have stayed there, we've got a second white row there, and it's fourth down efficiency. So what I'm going to do to make that go a little bit faster is that I'm going to start right here at the tr equals new, go all the way through that green comment. I'm going to copy that and paste it. It all scrolls up. Now we've still got the 0-0 there. We've still got the color white, center alignment, 10, TC. This we changed to fourth. Leave that the same, leave that the same. Control-Shift-B. Right click, view in browser. Now we've got those two. If we come over here, the next one is going to be a gray one. And so if I wanted to do that one, I would come up to this one here, which has gray in it. I'm going to start there. And I'm going to go through the next row there. Come down here to the bottom. Paste that in, but I'm going to get rid of those two lines. And then we've got to actually look at what the content is of that. So we do have light gray. Instead of, it is just a 0. We do have light gray, center, 10, true, add it. Instead of first downs, it needs to be total yards. And so you'll notice in the main difference between those two that you could copy is that this one has white and this one has light gray. This one has bold equals true. This one does not have that. Do Control-Shift-B, right click, view in browser. And so there's our next gray one, and you continue to work your way down until you get down to where it says refresh and play by play and so on. And so I'm going to go off video right now, and I'm going to work my way down to there, and then I'll come back on video to finish off these last couple rows. So I'm back. I have worked my way down to time of possession here. I'm going to do a Control-Shift-B. Over here, right click, view in the browser. And you can see what I've got here, coming down to here, and what we have left to do. We're going to do this in one row or one cell that spans 3 columns. We'll just put 3 anchor tags in there with some pipes, and to space it out, we'll put some non-breaking spaces in between on each side of the pipe, and then we've got that bottom image that goes there. So we've just got a couple of rows that are left there to work on. And again, you're going to start off with copying those top 2 and pasting them down. So I've got my those top 2 there. This one's going to be very similar to one we did at the top. So maybe we'll just go up to the top and grab that. It's quite a ways up there now. Find our single rows here. It's going to be very similar to this one where we had Purdue 0. Nope, not that one. We want the color to be white. So the team comparison one, we'll grab that one. Copy that, and then I'm just going to press Control-End, and that will jump me all the way to the bottom. And so now we've got that TC equals column span 3, that's fine. Let's go ahead and get rid of this team comparison, that's not going to be there. The color is going to be white, horizontal alignment of center. The font size, however, is going to be 10. It's not going to have an underline, but it is going to be bold. So instead of font.underline, we want font.bold equals true. And then we do a tr.controls.add tc, and then we add it to the table there. So all we have left is to do the text that is here. And so it's 3 anchor tags that are in there. We start with the words, refresh, pipe. Let's come back here and see what we've got. Play by play, pipe, more stats. And then we'll put an anchor tag around each one of them. You need to use single quotes here. If you use double quotes, you're going to find that you have a compilation error. So there's my opening and closing anchor tag around that one. And it doesn't really matter what you put in between here, you can put a fake page. I'll just put a.aspx because we're not going to actually do that part. I'm going to copy that opening anchor tag and right in front of the P, I'm going to paste it, and behind the Y in play, I'll put my closing anchor tag. Again, open it in front of the M and put in a closing after the S in stats. Now, in addition to that, to space it out a little bit, we're going to put a couple of non-breaking spaces in there. So I'll do an ampersand MBSP semicolon. It is outside of the anchor tag there. And I'm going to put 2 of those on either side of the pipes. Then I'll do a Control-Shift-B. Come over here, let's view it in the browser again. And so now I've got my anchors there and they are clickable. Yeah, they all go to the same page and we haven't created that page, but that's not really what we're working on here. And then we've got this image down at the bottom, which is going to be the same as that column span image at the top. So let's run up to the top. I'll do a Control Home to get me up there. This is our first row. I'm going to grab all of that within that first row and do a Control C and then do a Control End. Come down here to the bottom and I'll paste that in. Now what I do need, I also need to copy this tr equals new table row and new table cell. I've got to have those. Paste those in. We are going to have a column span of 3. We also need to have an img equals new image. We need to alter this and change it to bottom banner, which would be right here, the one that we want to appear. Image visible stays true. Image width is at 360. Controls.Add image. We have the horizontal alignment. We add the cell to the row, then we add the row to the table. And then finally down here at the bottom, what we did earlier, we add the whole table to the panel that's on the front page. So I'll do a Control-Shift-B, right click, view in browser, and there's our finished product. So now, that was very repetitive and repetitive for a reason. Throughout the rest of the semester, you're going to be using controls in C# that are in namespaces. And so this exercise shows you that you can find things that are in HTML. You can find those in C#. You can find an image. You can find a table, table row, table cell. You can find a drop-down list. You can find absolutely anything that you need. And you can build it in the C#, and then it will get rendered as HTML. If I come back here, I go right-click, view in the browser again. Once I'm in the browser, I right-click and view the page source. Look at what's been rendered. It's a lot of table rows, table data cells. Inside the data cells, it's got the yards per pass here. It's got our styles. So Visual Studio has rendered all of that out for us. If I scroll up here, kind of page file, I'll come up here and I'll just scroll down page by page. So here we've got our second and third rows, I believe, the team comparisons. And let me kind of line up here if I can. So there's a row. Here's where we did the what repeats just before I would have let you finish it out. Here's third down efficiency. efficiency. Total yards. Passing yards. Completions per attempt. Yards per pass. Rushing yards. Rushing attempts. Yards per rush. Penalty yards. Turnovers. Fumbles lost. Interceptions. Time of possession. And then the end of the page here, where we have our links for refresh and play-by-play, and also our last image that we include. Again, if you leave off these statements throughout, what will happen is the last time that you build a TC, that is what will get added over and over and over again. And the last time that you build a row, that is what will get added over and over and over again. So if you want to play around with it, after you save it, rename it as something different that you can play around with and try removing some things and see what happens. Of course, this one at the bottom is critical because without this statement, your page will never show your results. So you have to have this panel. This is the ID of the panel, .Controls.Add, and add that table into it. And that will complete that assignment. And we will look at some other stuff coming up in the next video.